Hi, class. Welcome back to Southern Ontario and another week of COVID hydrology. I'm here on the Credit River, which I've been telling you my little tributary joins, and I'm right at the spot. It's called the confluence where the two streams meet. So in previous lectures, you were hanging out on this stream, and you still are pretty much. But it all flows into the Credit River, which is this big trunk, and it runs into this big giant geologic obstruction. It makes a hard turn. And along its edge is where my little tributary of the Credit River flows. And today we're scheduled to talk about turbidity. And unfortunately, you are wherever you are, and you probably don't have access to a turbidity meter, which is not the end of the world, because a lot of companies and agencies will just use a turbidity tube, and you don't have access to that either, which is basically a long clear cylinder with a painted X in black and white at the bottom of the cylinder, and then you fill the cylinder up until you can't see the X anymore, and you take that measurement. So basically, the more crap that's in your water, sediment more or less, the less it takes to obscure your view of the disc below, of what's at the bottom. So I've been thinking, how in the world am I going to do this in the time of COVID, when we're all in disparate geographies with different capabilities of making stuff and also access to streams. So I came up with a halfway decent solution, and it's going to require you to find yourself a plastic bottle like so, and a Sharpie, and also hopefully a knife if you can use it carefully. If not, don't worry about it. And a measuring stick. Or a ruler like you used on your Holstrom curve pebble count when you did the Woolman pebble count. So I'm briefly gonna show you how to make a turbidity meter with a plastic bottle, and it's going to be sort of a coarse measurement, but we're going to look at 3 different channels. So we'll check out this little trib, and you can see the bottom. Hey Myra, Mirji. You can see the bottom of the channel, and you can see little rocks, right? Yes, and it looks pretty clear. So it's going to have a low turbidity reading, right? It's not going to be very turbid because you can see right through the water. Okay, we're going to walk over to, here's the main part of the channel, or the trib that I've been studying, and you can see it looks a little more murky right there. And where Myra is pretty clean, but where she's going, it's a little bit more turbid. Okay, contrasting both of those little units is the main trunk, which we've received some rain recently in Southern Ontario. Later today, we're supposed to get snow, which is incredible. Also, Frostburg's getting some snow. But anyway, here you can see the main trunk of the channel, and it's much more turbid. Look out there in the middle. You can't really see too many rocks on the bottom, and basically this water is moving at a higher velocity and has enough energy to erode and also keep in suspension a lot of particles, and those are drifting down the stream. You can also see along the bank, Myra's making some turbidity, and you can see these big plumes, and that's sort of an example of what our disturbance looks like on these tribs. And you might be thinking, okay, Dr. Flood, you asked me to look at bugs, you asked me to look at rocks, now you're asking me to look at how murky the water is. And what's the point? Well, you Marylanders especially should give a care, because coming out of Western Maryland, floating into the bay, which is, you know, the real unique geologic and cultural component of what is Maryland, receives about 13 dump truck loads of sediment from our little area, from our reach of the Potomac. So floating past Cumberland every day is about 13 dump trucks worth of dirt. which is incredible. Every single day. It's just like you could, sometimes I imagine that, okay, every 2 hours I'm gonna see a dump truck full of sediment, basically, cruising down towards the bay. And what it's also carrying beyond just like sediment and silt and sand are nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus and things that cause algal blooms and dead zones in the bay. So yeah, you should definitely give it care. It's also telling you about how much erosion is taking place within your watershed. And you have to see some, but you don't want to see too much. Like the idea of arresting and stopping all turbidity is not necessarily good, but too much is definitely bad. And if you're trying to wrap your head around that, like, okay, shouldn't we have clear water? Sometimes, but you want to have sediment move. That's one of the jobs of streams. They transport materials up and down, and the whole system kind of thrives on a set sediment load. So what I'm going to do, to the best of my abilities, Myra hopefully won't mess us up, I'm going to quickly show you how to make your turbidity meter. And basically we're going to cut this, paint with some Sharpie some shapes on the bottom, and then we're going to use the ruler to measure out the side. And basically we'll get, I don't know, 7 inches or something of measurement. And if it's greater than that, then we'll just have to say it's greater than that. So first thing we're going to do is finish the water. There, you want some? Okay, we're done. Don't want to litter. I'm going to go ahead and find my Sharpie. Hopefully I brought one. And then we're gonna paint the bottom. And usually your sucky disc, yes, that's what it's called, named after Mr. Sucky. It's not Sucky, S-U-C-K, but S-E-C-C-I. It's like Secchi disc. It's probably more appropriate. The disc looks a lot like this. So we'll do an anchor there. We'll do an anchor here, and I'm just trying to color in, to the best of my ability, one of these triangles. And you just want a shape on the bottom in black that you can look through your bottle to see. And if it's obscured and you can't see it, okay, then we have some turbid water. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. And I'm gonna put in one more triangle here. And you can see I'm just coloring it in. You can also do this, of course, before you get to the stream. I just did it because, well, I'm trying to do these all in one take because I don't have a photo editor or a movie editor. And there we go. Okay. So I've got some stuff on the bottom, okay? And then I'm gonna close my Sharpie. And then I'm gonna cut the top of my my turbidity tube off. If you don't have a knife or you're possibly gonna hurt yourself, don't do it, because I don't want to get in trouble for you accidentally hurting yourself. So if you have to, just leave it as it is, unless you think you can do it responsibly. Okay, and then the next thing you're gonna do is to take this measuring tape like you had before when you were doing your Waldman pebble count, and you're gonna put measurements on the side. So I've got about 14 centimeters. So here, I'll do little lines for 14 centimeters. Okay, so there's 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. You can also just fill the thing up and then measure it afterwards. But if you want to have your turbidity meter and keep it forever, this way it can be a standalone. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, great. again, now that I have my tube, the idea is we're gonna fill this up, and hopefully before it gets to the top, we'll be able to have the bottom obscured from us. And the more crap that's floating around in the water, the faster this is gonna disappear. So if we put in 2 centimeters, if it's really turbid, we won't be able to see the markings that we did on the bottom. Cool? Okay, let's go to the stream and we'll take a look first at this little tiny trib that's moving rather quickly. And let's get out here and we'll take we'll go ahead and take the whole thing full. And I can look down and you can see there are dark spots at the bottom of this cup. So this is not turbid, I would say. So when we record it, we can say greater than 14 centimeters will be our measurement. So it's going to take something greater than 14 centimeters or for us to obscure the bottom. The idea is if we kept filling it up and let's make it 14 feet tall, eventually there's enough suspended material that we won't be able to see it. Okay, so let's go over to this part of the channel and we'll see if we can get a little bit different reading. Collect here. Okay, again, I think it's going to be greater than 14, so this is not very turbid. I can see my marks in the bottom and we can move on. Don't worry, we're going to check out the main channel and I'll show you hopefully a reading that is highly turbid, and if not, I can get Myra to help me and together we can show you one that's pretty turbid. Okay, so I'm going out into the Credit River. It's moving really quickly today. Look at this thing. It's really beautiful. And then I'm gonna collect some water here. Okay, we're looking at the bottom. And again, I can see the bottom and you can too. So it is slightly more turbid than our other parts of the channel, but not considerably. But we're gonna use this little spot where Myra was just walking, and because she's a good baby, she's a good gosh. And as you can see where she's stepping right below us, she made it so turbid that I can't see anything. So I'm gonna pour a little out, and I still can't see the bottom of my cup. Pour a little out. I'm starting to get something down there. Pour a little out. I can see it. You can probably see it too. So there, I'll take my measurement. I did it backwards, so it'll actually be, you want to start your measurement as 1, 2, 3, 4. I did it backwards. But either way, 14, 7 is halfway, so it's 7 centimeters. I can start to see the bottom, and that's will be our measurement for turbidity. So with the help of Myra, the main trunk of the channel is obviously carrying more sediment, especially when this cute dog makes a disturbance. But from just a general perspective, the main trunk is carrying a lot more sediment because it was a little bit more cloudy, but it has a much greater quantity of flow. The Q is much larger than these small clear channels. So even a little bit of turbidity goes a long way. And what I'm going to ask you to do is, oh, Myra took my turbidity meter. And you're going to make a turbidity meter, and maybe your dog will like playing with it as much as mine. And you're going to do some basic turbidity measurements and tell me why turbidity matters. Myra seems very excited and happy to be a hydrologist in measuring turbidity. Okay, class, until next time, carry on bravely.